My name is Dave Becher. Welcome to my short series on physical drum training. These are not lessons, these are drum training exercises to build up speed, endurance, strength. I've been playing drums for over 35 years and these work for me, so I figured maybe I'll pass them along to you. Let's face it, drums are the most physical instrument out there. Using both your hands, your arms, your feet, your legs, in some cases your tongue. I don't have any tongue exercises, but I can show you the exercises I used to get over, my physical limitations, and I think they'll work for you too. It's probably, in that respect, be different from most of the things you've seen already. Play the drums, obviously you must have a pair of sticks. I recommend finding one pair that you're very comfortable with, that you're not going to be tossing away because they're either too heavy or too light, and then stick them with those when you play. Mine are the ones up on top, Quantum 7000s. I love that stick. But I practice with all the ones below, and there's quite a disparity in size between the ones on the left, the clubs, and the ones on the right that are pencil-thin dowels. The reason I use all these different sizes to practice is because they all offer certain benefits, and I'll show you why. Another must-have for drummers is a practice pad. Here are two of mine. The one on the left is about an 8-inch pad. It's got a regular drum head on it and a little bit of a raised lip for a rim, so you can practice rim shots. The one on the right is just a 6-inch rubber on wood flat pad. I prefer the smaller pads like the one on the right because it forces you to be precise. It forces you to keep your impact circle as close to the center of the drum as possible. On my big set I have 6-inch, 8-inch toms, octobans, things like that. And you want to be hitting the center of them, because if you're all over your pad, then you're going to be hitting your rims all over your drums, and then it's going to sound kind of messy. So try to keep it, and if you're just beginning, then a big pad is fine until you learn to tighten your circle. But as you progress, I would recommend moving to a smaller pad because it forces you to be precise. Another great thing for a drummer to have is a standard rudiment sheet. If you're teaching yourself, it's great because underneath the notes it's written out for you in little R's and L's for right hand, left hand, so it shows you how to do them. And once you study one of these, you'll notice that most of your rudiments are all combinations of single stroke rolls, double stroke rolls, or flams. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be concentrating on in this training series. To play well, you need to develop your strength in your hands and your wrist. One way to do that is if you're playing like this. Whatever your weak hand is, I'll assume it's your left. Turn the stick upside down and use the fat end out. It gets a little bit heavier. It forces this arm, this hand, this wrist to work a little bit harder than the other one. Do that for a while. And to build up the strength there, you can even, if you want, switch them both, build both up at the same time. Or you can do what I did with getting back to the clubs. I made wooden dowels that are huge. I actually used originally broomstick handles, but these work just as well. And what they do is they force you, because you're holding it like a club, you just have to use wrist. You're not using your fingers at all. So it forces you to build up wrist strength. So just start out slow and work from there. It builds the strength up in your wrists. Or even better, play into a pillow and you completely eliminate bounce assist, and you build up your strength by having to force each stroke down as well as up. It's great for building strength up in your wrists. A good way to test your strength is to use a table. Put your palms flat on the table, the heel of your palm down. You're not lifting your arms at all. This way you can't rely on any kind of a bounce, because you're not going to be bouncing your hands off the table. And just play out the strokes. Single strokes. Double strokes. Flams. If you can't do that on a flat table without any bounce with your hands, then you're lacking a little bit. So even though you can do it with sticks on a bounce, on a head, you're better off getting the power strokes down first. And it's the same thing with your feet. Get your feet down, get the strength in your ankles down. I discuss that later. But after that, then you can lift your heels off the ground. Same thing with sticks. You can bounce them off the heads. But the best thing to do is to get the power stroke down first. Another good way to build up strength is to tap out single strokes with each hand. Do a few in the left, a few in the right, alternate them. And I recommend doing that with different size sticks. I mentioned that different sizes have different benefits. Here I've got on the thick end Core Masters, which are like 3S's. I have 5Bs and I have 707s. The muscles, the small muscles in your hand and forearm are like your larger muscles, where a bodybuilder will work his pecs by not only just doing flat benching, he'll do incline benching, decline benching, and flies, hitting the muscle from all different angles. You want to do the same thing with your hands and your forearms and your tendons, and that's what happens when you use different size sticks. Your grip is slightly different. You're using different muscles because they're heavier, they're longer, they're fatter, and you want to do the same thing. I think to me, overall you develop better control that way. To get the greatest benefit out of doing the exercise, get a metronome or some way to keep track. You know, a click track. You can even play the music since it's already timed out, and it's just simply working the hands, the strokes. And then use different size sticks. Along with developing wrist strength, using the larger muscles, you also want to develop your fine motor skills. And you can do that, which I use these little dowels about the size of a pencil. And I hold them in the middle and use my fingers on them. And this way you work your hands, you get used to the feel of using your fingers because they're not heavy enough to really bounce, so you're not relying on bounce yet. You're still just learning your finger control. But you're pretty much driving it with your hands and not your wrists or your arms, and that develops finger-hand coordination. Great exercise you can do for your hands for your finger strength is to tap out strokes, alternating fingers from this to this one to this one to this one and back, and just practice that. It's also great for piano if you play piano. That's it for today. Obviously very basic, simple stuff, but I wanted to make sure I cover all the bases here. You know, I'm sure there's going to be new drummers watching, so I want to do, you know, I don't want to leave anybody out. We will work up to more progressive stuff as we go. And I just want to also caution you if anytime you're doing these things you feel pain or discomfort, then just stop immediately, because either you're doing the exercise wrong or you're using too much weight. I mean, I don't recommend for everybody to use those big clubs. You know, those are pretty extreme. So the next time we'll move on to the snare.